My husband and I are staunch advocates of being dinks, double income, no kids, but after 10 years of marriage, he changed his mind. Let's just adopt one. I just want to fulfill my dream of being a dad. My in-laws even went as far as urging my parents, relatives, and friends to pressure me, and we eventually adopted a boy. They said I wouldn't have to worry because the child would be fully taken care of by my in-laws. Until I died in a car accident, I never knew that everything was fake. The child my husband adopted was actually his biological son. Dad, you're really smart to have gotten her such a high insurance policy. The money is all ours. Mom has even picked out her wedding dress. The moment I opened my eyes again, I'd returned to the day my husband brought the child home. Scarlett, look, this is Kane, 7 years old. The child is well-proportioned, polite, and obedient. He'll definitely be compliant and will honor us when we're older. I took a liking to him at the welfare home at first glance. My ears were filled with the incessant praise from my husband, Mason, and the affection in his eyes. I stared blankly at the young boy's innocent yet somewhat awkward face and suddenly realized I had been reborn. His large, innocent eyes were sizing me up, yet there was a faint trace of disdain in them. Watching this heartwarming scene of fatherly love and filial devotion, I pinched myself hard to suppress the overwhelming hatred in my heart. Slap. I struck Kane across the face. The smile on my husband's face froze instantly, and he shouted at me in outrage. What are you doing? It's the child's first time in our home, and you hit him. Do you even act like a mother? I calmly opened my palm, revealing a dead mosquito. Honey, I was just afraid Kane would get bitten. Why are you so nervous? Do you no longer love me now that we have a child? I pretended to be upset and shed a few tears, while my husband glanced at me and then at our child, feeling utterly helpless. Eventually, he softened his voice to comfort me. Sweetheart, that's not what I meant. Kane isn't our biological child after all. How could he ever be more important than you? Alright, I'll take him to my parents' place now so you won't feel jealous. You don't have to worry about anything, just focus on making money. I'll handle everything at home. As he said this, he turned to leave, but I grabbed his arm. Honey, I've thought it over. Since we agreed to adopt, Kane is my son from now on, and he'll live with us at home. But didn't you say you didn't like kids? That was before. Today, meeting Kane for the first time, I immediately found this child endearing. Why not keep him here and raise him well? Don't you want him to be teased at school for not having parents? He's been through enough already, he shouldn't miss out on parental love. It's settled, then. Thinking of sending him to my in-laws so they can secretly enjoy their happy little family behind my back with that wretched woman? Dream on. In this lifetime, I'll keep this brat right beside me and hold everyone's fate in my hands. By noon, there was still no sign of the child, and my in-laws called anxiously. Why aren't you here yet? Your father and I have prepared so many delicious dishes waiting for you. My husband hesitated, pretending to be considerate in front of me. Scarlett says she likes Kane, so we'll keep him with us for now. I'll bring Kane over to visit you this weekend. My husband spoke while walking toward the balcony with the phone, his voice growing fainter. Guilty as a thief, he completely forgot that the kitchen window was connected to the balcony. I can't help it, she insists on keeping Kane. That won't happen. I know her too well. Within a few days, she'll get fed up with the child and beg me to send Kane over to your place. Just wait a little longer. Naturally, his parents grew anxious not seeing their grandson, but in my past life, I was blind and oblivious to it. They coddled Kane in every way, treating him like their most precious treasure. Even a scrape on his finger would send them into hysterics. My in-laws, who had always been frugal, surprisingly spent 10,000 yuan to buy Kane a model kit, praising him as future architect material. I should have realized it sooner. Why would these feudalistic and ignorant elders go out of their way to spoil and indulge a grandson with no blood relation? Meanwhile, my husband Mason started spending all his time at his parents' house, sometimes even staying overnight. I never felt the slightest concern about him staying there, completely unaware that it had become the perfect rendezvous for their secret reunion. During those years, I was fully immersed in building my career, pouring all my energy into work. Just before Kane's 18th birthday, I was promoted to general manager, and on that very day, I got into a car accident. Everything was such a cruel coincidence. As my soul drifted away, I saw those wicked people celebrating beside my corpse. My good son, Scarlett is dead, her money is all ours now. This is the best birthday gift Dad could give you. I was filled with hatred, wishing I could tear these people apart and crush them one by one. Luckily, heaven gave me a second chance. I glanced at Kane standing cluelessly in the living room and slightly moved my fingers. Darling, it seems Kane has wet his pants, and your building blocks have fallen on the floor. Come quickly. My husband rushed over in a panic and, upon seeing the building blocks he had spent so much time assembling scattered on the ground, his face immediately darkened. Kane, how could you be so careless? This is Daddy's most treasured thing. Kane shrank into the corner of the table, fear in his eyes. No, it wasn't me. My husband suddenly realized his tone and softened it immediately. Well, just don't touch these building blocks anymore, son. Daddy will take you to change your clothes. A 7-year-old child always needs attention for one thing or another, help with eating, bathing, doing laundry, going to school, and even going to bed. Especially the little boy, who's at that most rambunctious age, knew he was my husband's biological son and thus never acted like an outsider. He expected everything to be handed to him on a silver platter, and would throw tantrums from time to time. I pretended not to notice. It didn't take long for my husband to show signs of irritation. After all, his lazy mornings were gone, replaced by the nightly chore of reading bedtime stories to Kane. For a grown man, it was only natural to get fed up. Honey, Kane needs someone to take him to and from school. I can manage the mornings, but I really don't have time to pick him up in the afternoon. Taking time off every day is already making my boss unhappy. Maybe we should let the grandparents take care of him. This won't do. Mom and Dad are getting older, their health isn't good, and they can't handle a child's constant demands. Plus, they don't know how to educate children or help with homework. We can't let Kane's development suffer because of this. After this matter was left unsettled, my in-laws personally showed up at our doorstep. Clearly, my husband had secretly discussed it with them, trying to pressure me into agreeing. But there was no way I would let them have their way. Scarlett, since both you and Mason are busy with work and don't want to leave the child with us, your father and I don't have much to do after retirement. How about we stay temporarily to help with household chores and take care of Kane while we're at it? Great, I'm so happy you can come. There are only 2 bedrooms in the house, so Kane will have to stay in the living room. As soon as these words were spoken, 3 objections followed. My mother-in-law was the first to speak. Kane is at that age where he's growing. The sofa is too small, it could stunt his height. Right. Your dad and I can sleep anywhere. No one should suffer, least of all the child. We'll sleep on the floor so Kane can stay comfortably in the bedroom. They really dote on their grandson. But tormenting one person is far less satisfying than tormenting a pair. Naturally, I agreed. They bought Kane piles of clothes, and every day they served him an endless variety of snacks and fruits. They even fed him mouthful by mouthful at meals. If Kane ate less, they'd practically kneel and beg him to take one more bite. My in-laws are quite old-fashioned. When my husband and I decided to be dinks when we got married, they threw a fit. But since it was their son's decision, they had no choice but to reluctantly accept it. Over the years, my mother-in-law had been ridiculed by her old friends countless times, being told she had no blessings of children or grandchildren and wouldn't even be able to close her eyes in peace after death. This time, she finally had the chance to hold her head high, telling everyone that this was her grandson. Didn't your son and daughter-in-law vow to be dinks? Where did all these grandchildren come from? Did you pick them up off the street? My mother-in-law was about to say, this is my own. I stopped her. Mom, for the child's well-being, let's not say anything more. We don't want Kane to feel any psychological disparity. My words, overheard by the neighbors, quickly took on a different tone, and what they inferred was certainly nothing good. My mother-in-law couldn't speak the truth in front of me and slunk back home feeling embarrassed. At first, everything seemed harmonious, but soon the problems surfaced. Kane would ignore his homework after school, completely disregarding his grandparents' reminders to study. He even pushed them away or gave them attitude. "This house will be mine sooner or later, and you all have to listen to me." Is this something a 7-year-old should say? They must have heard these remarks countless times from those people. Moreover, they're already old, sleeping on the floor in the living room every day, constantly complaining about backaches and sore muscles. I pretended not to notice, and they didn't dare bring up taking Kane back with them. After all, I was the one supporting this family. Money gives you a voice. That evening, my husband vented to me. "The company's performance keeps getting worse. They've laid off several people already, who knows when it'll be my turn." A brilliant idea suddenly came to me. "Honey, since the company isn't doing well, why not focus on taking care of Kane at home? It'll spare your parents the hardship while letting you bond with him. Kane is a boy, there are some issues I, as his mother, can't quite address. It would be better coming from you. Mom and Dad are spending quite a bit living here, why not use that money to support you instead? They can go back and enjoy their retirement life properly. Isn't this a win-win for everyone?" My husband clapped in agreement and immediately went to discuss it with his parents. Of course he was happy. He's always been a man with no ambition, and notoriously stingy to boot. Without my financial support, our household would have been scraping by long ago. If I hadn't thought he was also committed to being child-free, I would never have married him in the first place. Which is precisely why he'd never divorce me. After all, the house, the car, and the other properties are all solely in my name. If he wants any of it, he'll have to keep me happy, unless, like in my past life, something unexpected happens to me. Unfortunately, I won't. And for the rest of my life, I don't want to waste a single penny on these people. Right now, I'm watching the 3 people in the second bedroom through my phone, still discussing. They have no idea that ever since I was reborn, I've installed surveillance cameras in every room of the house. "Mom, Dad, Scarlett doesn't agree to let you take Kane away, and there's nothing I can do. We can't afford to have a falling out yet. For the sake of money, we'll just have to endure it for now. That bitch thinks she's so great with her filthy money, never giving you or your dad any respect. What's this nonsense about being dinks? She's probably just a barren hen. When she finally croaks, we'll scatter her ashes into the sea. Hurry up, get at least one apartment first." My mother-in-law took out 3,000 yuan from her wallet. "Here, spend it wisely and take good care of my grandson." The next day, my in-laws left, and I used a meeting as an excuse not to see them off. My husband became a full-time house husband, meticulously caring for Kane every day. Yet, Kane grew increasingly temperamental. "I want fried chicken. I want cola. I already know all these problems, so why do I have to do the homework? I won't do it, you do it for me. The teacher won't find out. Watching TV every day, all the other classmates have phones. Why won't you buy me one? Are you even my real dad? I'm going to tell Mom." My husband kept arguing with him, but it was no use. He wanted to nurture Kane, hoping his son would become a dragon, but this earthworm is only fit to be buried in the dirt. It was just a bag of leftover snacks from the office that no one wanted, yet Kane rushed into my arms. I handed him an old phone I no longer used, installed only with games, and he was so delighted he kept calling me Mom. Back in the days when a piece of candy could make me smile, I was way more playful than my husband. Now, Kane argues with his father every day, even scolding him for not being his real dad. He's become more obedient towards me. Eat up, these snacks will help you grow. Watch as much as you want, it's not over until you go blind." Everything is going according to my plan. Until the familiar yet unfamiliar figure appeared in the living room camera feed. Lila, my husband's first love, also Kane's biological mother. I knew bits and pieces about their history, utterly cliched and melodramatic. At the time, the couple was at the age of marriage, but Lila's family disapproved and looked down on my husband for being poor, forcing them to separate. Within half a year, Lila got married but ended up divorcing for unknown reasons. In her past life, she had always stayed hidden in the shadows and never showed herself until my death, when she finally came out to make a scene. Now that things aren't going according to their plan, she just couldn't hold back anymore. After all, how could she bear it when her foolish son was calling someone else mom? Lila leaned delicately against my husband's shoulder, pouting as she complained. "Mason, your wife is really something. She somehow tricked our son into calling her mom. Has she stolen your heart too?" "Of course not. The only one I've ever loved is you. If it weren't for securing a good future for you and our child, would I have put up with her all these years? You have no idea, just lying next to her in bed makes me sick. She's nowhere near as beautiful as you, let alone as creative." I clutched my phone, almost cursing out loud, all these years of tolerance and care just to be repaid with the word disgusting. His conscience must have been fed to the dogs. So, what's this about being child-free? He's been lying to me all along. He never really wanted to have children with me, he was just after my money. Ugh, what are you going to do now? Whatever you say. The two began whispering, their voices were too low for me to hear, but I was certain they were definitely up to no good. Lately, work has been hectic at the company, and I often have to stay late until midnight before I can go home. If I can secure the current case, it'll be another step closer to my promotion to vice president. In this lifetime, I will firmly grasp my own destiny. For a woman, relying on others is never easy, so all I can do is take advantage of my youth and climb as high as I can, sparing no effort. The freedom and ease I crave are within my reach. So, even if it means putting in twice the effort, working late into the night, drinking with clients until my stomach aches, I'll gladly endure it. Turning off the office lights alone again, the silent parking lot suddenly had someone rushing over, dragging me against a stone pillar. His foul, hungry mouth went straight for my face as I desperately struggled and pushed back, but the man was incredibly strong, pinning me down fiercely. A whistle sounded, and the man swiftly fled. I immediately called the police. The officers said the camera facing me had been deliberately damaged, so it had captured nothing. Moreover, the man was completely covered up, revealing only his eyes and mouth. Even the street cameras hadn't captured a clear image. Helpless, I had to treat it as a perverted incident, just as the police speculated. Yet, something still felt off. That feeling lingered until a few days later when my husband suddenly asked, "Can you get off early today? There's something to discuss." I checked the time and my current workload. The project has mostly wrapped up and is in its final stages, so I replied, "Shouldn't be a problem." I thought my husband was short on money and trying to butter me up, but when I got home, I was greeted by a house full of people. There were my in-laws and their relatives, as well as my parents. The living room was packed, everyone wearing stern expressions, their gazes toward me filled with anger and disdain. My husband threw a stack of photos in front of me and slammed a cup in fury. "Scarlett, look at what you've done. How could you do this to me? You said you didn't want children, and I went along with it. You said you wanted to focus on your career, and I willingly supported you from behind the scenes. I tried to accommodate you and be considerate. Do you know what people say about me outside? They call me a freeloader. But you know very well how I've treated you and how I've treated your parents. My parents are desperate for a grandchild, have I ever pressured you? Even adopting Cain was something I had to beg you for. Is this how you repay my sincerity?" I was confused, but after picking up the photos on the floor, I finally understood. The pictures showed me laughing cheerfully with various men at dinner tables. Some who liked to joke would playfully urge us to drink a toast arm in arm, but it never went further than that. There were no inappropriate actions. The most damning one was the photo of me hugging and kissing a man in the parking lot. At that moment, everything became clear. I had felt something was off back then, turns out it was all orchestrated by my wonderful husband and his little lover. All for this very day. In that case, why not play along with their act and lure out their true intentions? I tearfully began to explain, "No, it's not like that, honey. These photos were doctored. Please believe me." My mother-in-law slapped me across the face. "You brought shame upon our family. In-laws, what do you think should be done about this? Our house certainly won't tolerate such a shameless daughter-in-law." My husband's older sister jumped in. "All these years, Scarlett, has been unfilial and childless. Now she's committed such disgraceful acts. Should we keep her around until the new year? Divorce, it must be divorce." My mother poked me in frustration, her face grim, speaking in an ingratiating tone. "There might be some misunderstanding in this matter. The young couple has been married for 10 years, and you know Scarlett's temperament well. They can't just divorce on a whim. Let's discuss any requests reasonably." My mother-in-law's eyes rolled around before she suddenly slammed the table. "If divorce is to be avoided, then transfer the ownership of Scarlett's downtown apartment to Mason. We'll consider this matter settled. If she's found to be unfaithful in the future, a divorce will be immediate, no negotiations. Divorce is out of the question. The division of our marital assets would be enough for Mason to live comfortably for half his life. What I want is to send them straight to hell." Shaking, I walked over, wiping away my tears. "Mom, I'll do whatever you say." As I saw my parents out, they looked at me with disappointment. "Scarlett, are you really?" By then, all trace of my earlier meekness had vanished. I shook my head firmly. "Mom and Dad, you know my character well. I would never do anything to disgrace our family. Leave this matter to me, you don't need to worry." My father snorted coldly. "I warned you to be cautious back then, but you wouldn't listen. Now you're stuck with such a scheming family. You'd better make plans early." In the following days, Mason kept urging me to complete the property transfer, but I stalled each time, citing unresolved loans as the reason. Finally, he lost his patience and grabbed my arm, shouting, "Scarlett, have you never intended to transfer the property at all? Have you been lying to me all this time?" I caught sight of half of Kane's figure hidden behind the door from the corner of my eye and spoke loudly. "Yes, I'm not planning to go, because I've already decided to leave all my assets under my name to Kane in the form of a trust. I don't have any children. I'll have to rely on Kane for care in my old age, so of course I should leave all my money to him. Darling, you too, Kane is our only child now. Who else can you count on when you can't move in the future?" My husband's expression softened slightly after hearing my words, but he still hesitated. He was used to being selfish and was more concerned about his own well-being. Just as he was about to speak, Kane suddenly ran over and stopped him. "Mom, Dad, don't worry. I'll take care of you in your old age." He cleverly kept winking at his husband, who had no choice but to shut his mouth. At night, with the bed beside me empty, I quietly opened the door and overheard my husband on a phone call from the balcony. A delicate woman's voice came through. "She's sensible enough to leave all the money to our Kane. You're so capable, keeping Scarlett firmly under control. But you must watch her closely and personally verify the trust documents before we can rest easy." Understood. The next day after work, I showed the trust certificate to Mason when I got home. He was overjoyed, grinning from ear to ear and constantly serving me food. Kane even showered me with compliments, calling me the best mom repeatedly. I sneered inwardly, this pair of fools was so easily fooled by a fake certificate I got for just a few dollars. Time was running out for me. After all, now that I was of little use to them, they'd only want to squeeze the last bit of value out of me. During dinner, I made a call right in front of the father and son. "Really? Thank you so much, President. I'll work hard and won't let you down." My husband leaned in with a smile. "Scarlett, is there some good news?" Our company exceeded our first half targets, and I was the top sales performer again. At this rate, my boss told me my year-end bonus could reach $1 million. His mouth gaped wider than an egg as he awkwardly replied, "Scarlett, you're amazing. Here, eat more, you're the family's pillar after all. You must take care of your health. Honey, you're the one who works the hardest in this family, looking after me, managing the house, and shuttling Kane around. I really worried you might burn out. Medical costs are so high these days. Since you quit your job, we absolutely must keep your insurance coverage. I've enrolled you in a $1,000,000 medical and accident insurance policy, so you won't have to worry about anything. Honey, you're so good to me. I suspect that at this point, having just reaped the benefits of the trust, they hadn't yet started plotting my death, which actually gave me an opportunity. Combined with the generous year-end bonus, I was now the golden goose in their eyes. In the days that followed, Kane became even more disinterested in his studies, exuding the unmistakable stench of a spoiled rich kid's money everywhere he went. Not coveting expensive model toys, he'd either order takeout junk food every day or become obsessed with gaming, often skipping classes by pretending to be sick. When my husband scolded him, I would defend him, making Kane like me even more. Once, while gaming, I overheard him boast shamelessly. "My mom's loaded, all the family wealth will be mine someday. Why bother studying? I'll have so much money I won't even need to work. And that damn dad of mine is always nagging. Can't wait for the old man to croak." During my time off at home, my husband used helping his parents as an excuse, but I could see right through his sleazy exterior. What he really wanted wasn't chores but an affair. Moreover, he didn't bring Kane along, which probably meant the job was meant to be done in bed. At least it gave me a chance to be alone with Kane. Kane was curled up on the living room sofa playing video games, while I was tidying up beside him. My bag accidentally tipped over, spilling out a few photos. I quickly gathered them, but one still landed near Kane's hand. He picked it up and looked at me in shock. "Mom, Dad, with whom?" In the photo, my husband was intimately embracing a woman whose belly was visibly swollen, clearly pregnant, but this woman was unmistakably not Kane's mother, Lila. I gently stroked Kane's head with tears streaming down my face. "Kane, don't blame your dad either. He's always wanted a child of his own. Your dad and I really can't make it work anymore. Since you were brought home by your dad, and your grandparents adore you, they'll surely treat you well in the future. After your dad and I divorce, you'll stay with him." Heartbroken, I turned my head away and wept softly. Kane is mature for his age and would quickly think about the family assets. If he stays with my husband, and since he isn't my biological child, naturally, he wouldn't get a single penny. He took my hand and said earnestly, "Mom, I won't let you divorce Dad, and that little bastard won't step foot in our house either." After dinner, Kane excused himself to take out the trash but took forever to come back upstairs. Through the hallway window, I saw him sitting on a bench with Lila, whispering about something. Mother and son share a deep bond. After all, I just hope he doesn't let me down. Kane started sticking to his dad like glue, even watching him when he went to the bathroom, driving his dad so nuts that he yelled at him, calling him crazy. With my subtle, or not so subtle, help, my husband kept sneaking out. Each time, I'd sigh sadly. "Look, your dad went out again. Is he that obsessed with that woman?" Kane once followed his father out and indeed saw that pregnant woman. He was about to run over when I grabbed him. "Kane, don't do this. Your dad will resent you, and your life will become very difficult." When we got home, I started packing my belongings right in front of Kane. He stood by the doorframe, his eyes red with anger, tugging at my arm and crying bitterly. "Mom, don't go. You can't divorce Dad." I threw the photo of my husband and me onto the ground, crying and cursing through my tears. "And to think I believed your father worked hard. I insured him for millions, and this is how he repays me? Has his conscience been eaten by dogs? Why doesn't he just die? At least then he'd leave us some insurance money, that would prove he's a man. I must have been blind." Kane's eyes suddenly turned cold. He pushed me onto the bed and spoke slowly, word by word. "Mom, don't leave. I'll help you." Kane turned and left, and the smile on my lips could no longer be contained. A few days later, I received a call from the hospital saying that my husband had been in a car accident and that I needed to come immediately. By the time I arrived at the hospital, the surgery wasn't over yet. I heard the driver who caused the accident had fled immediately, and it was a passerby who found my husband and called the police. My husband didn't die in the end, but his injuries were severe, leaving him in critical condition and relying entirely on a ventilator. As his wife, I naturally had to visit him. Just as I handed him a freshly peeled apple, it suddenly dawned on me. "Oh dear, husband, I forgot, you can't eat this. The doctor said you could die at any moment." I'm utterly heartbroken, but there's something I must tell you, so you won't die with regrets. With that, I handed him a medical diagnosis certificate right before his eyes. "Husband, did you always believe Cain was your biological son with Lila? What a pity, he isn't. He's the bastard child of your old flame and someone else. Though, not everyone gets to play the fool. I must congratulate you for that," belatedly. Though my husband's body was paralyzed, his eyeballs fixed fiercely on the diagnosis certificate. Rage gave him enough strength to lift his arm, attempting to lunge at me, but I quickly dodged. "Also, do you know who hit you and sent you to the hospital? It was Lila's lover, Cain's biological father. They wanted to inherit your life insurance after you died. You poor thing, raising another man's child for nothing, and now you're about to lose your life for it. How tragically devoted you are." I felt utterly satisfied watching my husband gasp for breath, powerless to do anything. Before leaving, I thoughtfully tucked in his blanket and carelessly slipped the fruit knife I'd used to peel the apple beneath it as well. The next day, agonized screams erupted from my husband's hospital room. When the doctors and nurses rushed in, they found Lila with a sharp fruit knife plunged into her chest, right through the heart, perfectly precise, and blood pooling across the floor. Meanwhile, my husband took his last breath amid sporadic bursts of laughter. Really, Lila had only herself to blame for being so greedy. With just a few words of provocation, she eagerly rushed to the hospital to ask my husband for his bank card PIN. She thought her carefully crafted image of devotion would earn her his last lingering affection, little realizing she was walking into the lion's den, straight into a revenge killing. With the occurrence of this murder case, the police quickly uncovered the abnormal relationship between Lila and her husband, as well as the evidence of her premeditated murder. Shortly afterward, the hit-and-run driver was also apprehended. What was initially just speculation was confirmed by the evidence. Cain was indeed the child of Lila and the hit-and-run driver. First love? It was just a tactic to deceive Mason from the start. From beginning to end, Lila never had any respect for Mason. She merely played the role of an innocent, delicate flower to reel in a wealthy man before dumping him, leaving him with a beautiful thorn lodged in his heart. The marriage was also a farce, nothing more than a kept woman for a wealthy man. Once he grew tired of her, she was discarded. The delicate flower then seduced someone else and had a child. Unable to endure poverty, she later recalled her now successful first love. One scheme led to another, eventually ensnaring herself in the end. My in-laws lost their son, and even the grandson turned out to be fake. Old and frail, the shock was too much, they couldn't take it and passed away soon after their precious boy. I inherited Mason's insurance payout flawlessly, becoming a multimillionaire. Just stepped out of the bank, Cain couldn't wait to throw himself into my arms. "Mom, you're all I have left. They're all bad people, bullying you, they deserve to die. From now on, we'll live well together. I'll definitely be filial to you and take care of you for the rest of your life." I laughed while pushing him away. "Whose child are you? I don't know you at all. If you keep making false claims about being family, I'll call the police." "Mom, don't you recognize me? I'm Cain, your son." LOL, where would a dink like me get a son from? Get lost. Even as I started the car, Cain clung to the window, refusing to let go. "Mom, have you forgotten all your money is in a trust? I'm the beneficiary." I smiled while slowly rolling up the window. "What trust? I've never set one up. My money will go to Hope schools, to people with disabilities, to impoverished college students, but never to you." With that, I drove off without looking back. Later, I heard Cain resorted to scavenging through trash for a living, constantly spewing obscenities until one day the local thugs beat him senseless, after that, he vanished without a trace. I've chosen not to have children or remarry, living the unshackled freedom I've always yearned for. Working hard and giving back to society, the donation receipts I receive each month spark genuine joy. May time cradle us in tranquility, recording only life's sweetness, never its sorrows. May this grace find us all.